Hey everybody, my name is Mark Bruffel, and I'm going to be talking about Dante's Inferno, specifically Cantos 11 and 12 today.
Along the upper rim of a high bank, formed by a ring of massive broken boulders, we came above a crowd more cruelly pent, and here, because of the outrageous stench, thrown in excess by that deep abyss, we drew back till we were behind the lid of a great tomb, on which I made out this. Right here, it's very important to add to the fact that the tomb that they're looking over is Pope Anastasius, and that the boulders that are on the side have been broken by numerous earthquakes.
What we find in Canto 11 is that Dante and Virgil stumble upon this open tomb of Pope Anastasius as they're trying to hide from the terrible smell of hell. As they're looking deeper into this kind of cone that you find of hell, and it gets smaller and smaller as we go down. So think of that as your imagery for the day.
The sixth circle is for those that have committed heresy, and it's very interesting to see that a pope has been buried here. This definitely shows how Dante does not believe in what the Catholic Church is doing at the time, and is clearly painted all over the place throughout the book. The development of Dante's almost messianic sense of imperial rule is hard to trace, but it is doubtless affected by his bitterness over what he saw as the autocratic and treacherous conduct of Pope Boniface, and a great growing conviction that only a strong central authority could bring order to Italy. That's from Winthrop Weatherby, a student at Cornell University, but written for Stanford. This ties back to the Pope being buried in the sixth circle of hell, as we saw earlier.
Here are a few things to look at as we head into the seventh circle, and remember how weirdly these are set up. And in Canto 12, I'm going to give you guys a brief synopsis before we really dive into the information. But the seventh circle of hell is for violent offenders. The outer ring is made up of those violent against humans and against their property, people that steal, arson, etc. They could also beat people, that type of thing. We'll get into that more later. The second part is the middle ring, and those are the people that commit suicide. That's an interesting one that we'll also talk about. And then we get into the inner ring, which is the blasphemers, which are blaspheming against God. And that is a pretty heavy one. And it's interesting how the people that may kill people are actually in a lesser ring of hell than those that blaspheme against God and speak against Him, which is a very interesting idea. We'll talk about that more later. At this time, it is very important to mention that the seventh circle of hell is guarded by a minotaur, and that is interesting due to the fact that we are mixing Christian religion in with this classical stuff from the Greeks. So we kind of see this melding of both the Greeks and the Christians using one hell. I guess they didn't have enough room for two.
This is a canto in which the structure of hell is given. Moral structure or moral ordering are the traditional terms of the poem. Might be found the symbolism of number 11, since the law is symbolized by the number 10, and hence the designation of the famous Decalogue. Surely the number 11, passing 10 as it does, stands for trespassing against the law, and consequently for sin. Pierre Massimo Forni, Johns Hopkins University, a lecture from 1988. I want to talk about some key points before we wrap up. let's talk about heresy and how Dante uses that to show his discontent with the Catholic Church. Then we move into violence, and we find how killers are held in a lesser part of hell than those that speak against God, which is one of my great questions of the day. And then I also want to touch base and make sure you guys understand about how hell gets smaller and smaller as we go deeper into this abyss, and the stench gets worse and worse. Hope you guys learned a lot today. If you guys have any questions on 11 and 12, or I didn't hit on anything that you guys would like me to talk about, feel free to find me after class. Thanks.